What's up, guys? Dan Adams here with Next Level Riding Clinics. Well, as always, and you've guys seen from me in the past, I love building snowmobiles, and for this season, these are my 2026 Polaris builds. Right here, right behind me, this is started its life as a 155 Khaos Boost. Love the Khaos. You can kind of see the theme here. I've been a Khaos guy for a long time. I'd say to anybody that a Khaos platform from when it started has just always been kind of my style of riding. I like to do a lot of different things on a snowmobile, and the Khaos always seems to be the platform that I'll start with and really enjoy. So this was a 155 Boost to start, and you guys can tell we've bumped this out to a 165 thanks to the Camzo, the Power Lifter 310. This is the Chris Barant track. Big props to Chris for letting me run this track. So far, so good. Just give a quick plug about that. Even with the low snow or the random snow conditions that we've had this season, I've not seen one spot or one condition where the Power Lifter wasn't an advantage to the rider. I think it's very fast. It gets up on top of the snow. It goes through a series of different styles or types of snow really, really well. So far, so good with that. And then, guys, the crown jewel of all of my builds, I gotta give it to Justin and Tyson Thomas. You guys can see that the glide skid underneath there. This one we've got custom anodizing done. Big thanks to Ice Age. And you can see all the things that are Ice Age products underneath these. They're Ice Age rails. It's a specific rail to the Thomas skid, and then their Hellfire wheels in the back. The skid frames themselves, guys, they're so freaking amazing. They turn every one of these snowmobiles into an even more capable machine than they already are. And what we did that was unique for this year is I did a 165, a 155, and a 146, all with the glide skid, just so I could give more input, have more fun, and just feeling the differences between this over any other type of suspension that's out there is truly, truly a game changer. The quick link that you're seeing underneath there, how adjustable it is, the quick change in geometry, combined with the Chris Barant Fox QS3 suspension. I mean, all in all, guys, I would say it to anybody that the first modifications that I'll make to a snowmobile has a lot to do with the handling. And so adjusting the suspension and going with the suspension package that I have on all three of these builds, there's a reason for it. I've grown to love these setups. It instills a ton of confidence, and then it's a massive advantage to the rider. And as I get older, I love the ability to have things come easier to me while riding, and that's exactly what these things allow me to do. So.
All right, talk to me a little more about how that adjustment works on the back of that skid.
Yeah, so right now, the way the suspension is set up, if we were to use this as a clock, and back here, if we were talking about, 12 o'clock being straight up, right now I've got this set up just back from that. And so it's a little bit in party mode, meaning that the further back this direction I go, the more chaos or more party mode I can make this snowmobile. Whereas if I can take this quick link, and you can see this adjuster here, and it comes with this really unique tool that allows you to just undo this jam, and you can take this part right here, and you can simply just turn this out. And if you can't do it by hand, there's a tool that allows you to do it. But as I rack this suspension and change this rear arm, and I bring this direction, as I start to stand this sled up and bring this direction, you can already tell what's happening. We start to apply pressure forward, keeping the front end down, which turns the snowmobile into a bit more business mode, which is really cool. So you've got adjustment there. You've also got adjustments here, so that you can change the actual geometry and the way the shock sits into the suspension. And so for an uncoupled suspension, this is a pretty amazing way to get a whole lot of different styles of riding out of one suspension. And it's really, really cool. And so I know those two have put a ton of time and energy into it, and every single person that has been on a Thomas skid, even if it was just for a few minutes, had something positive to say about it. I've gotten to spend almost 2 complete seasons with it, and every time I ride it, I find something else that makes me a bit more of a believer in what it is that these guys are doing. And so the future of the Thomas Racing skid, where these guys are headed, the focus just continues to be about reliability, making a performance part. There are so many other companies within our industry that are making things cool looking, they're making them different colors, they're making them lighter, but are they truly a performance part? And the performance that I get out of a glide skid, it's second to none, guys. It seriously changes the way you ride a snowmobile.
That skid is a little heavier than a stock Pro RMK rear
It is,
skid,
depending on the shock package that you're running. I run with the Chris Brandt shocks. These are quite a bit lighter than even our factory suspension. And so we're in and around like that 4 to 5 pounds heavier than a stock skid, which is, believe me guys, one of their main focuses moving forward is to try to keep the same durability, the same robust suspension that works just as good in the race course as it would in the backcountry, but start to lighten things up. And so know that that's what's coming down the pipe, and a pretty good focus over there with Justin and Tyson Thomas.
All right.
So
can you talk about how you've got to relocate your front arm?
absolutely. So knowing that I run the Ice Age Elevate spindles, you guys know that those spindles, not only do they look awesome, super strong, about the same weight, a little lighter than stock, but they raise the front end of the snowmobile about an inch. And I absolutely love that that gets the sled up and out of the snow. You combine that with their striker lower A-arm, and even its profile makes the sled look like it's got a little bit of a lift kit on it. You put those two things together, knowing that you're gonna do that, you're actually changing that geometry just a little bit, or changing the balance point of the machine. So it's important, and you'll see it with all of my builds that we've gone through, and we've actually dropped that front torque arm location. You can see this is the stock one. Dropping that down basically recenters the balance point of the machine while running those Elevate spindles. So I've done that to each sled, and was certainly worth noting. Yeah, you run the Polaris scratchers. Everything kind of feels the same as you're going down the trail. Unique differences to it is you'll go through a rough section of trail, and like I've heard from so many people that have thrown a leg over my sleds, the faster you go, the smoother it is. The faster you go into these really, really hard hits, the straighter the sled. It doesn't bounce around. It just keeps you right in line. You guys can tell that as a racer and or as a backcountry rider, when you're really charging up the hill, you're going over all kinds of dips and bumps and logs and things like that that could throw a rider in one direction or another. The Thomas skid is just absolutely freaking awesome. And so until you get on one, you're gonna have to just take my word for it that they are an unbelievable performance part to your snowmobile.
So the Fox floats, they got lighter for 26, right?
They did, yeah. It's pretty cool to see that we've got such an awesome, awesome suspension package that truly does take weight from the sled. This particular package was the new QSE, which would have had the electronic switch that has that electronic lockout for that rear track shock. Knowing that I'm running the Thomas skid, it's we're still in development of coming up with the right wiring system to where I can have that, but know that that's the idea moving forward too, is we'll continue to create that because the shock, the way it's set up in there inside the Thomas skid, it's uniquely different than how it would be for stock. And so, but the suspension nonetheless, guys, I've been a Fox guy for almost 15 years. I can truly tell a difference running a sled, whether it's off trail or on trail, down the trail, through the bumps, hitting jumps, doing bow ties, re-entries, all of it, when I am riding this particular suspension package. It instills confidence in me. The moment that they're on a snowmobile, I feel right at home. And that's kind of the idea behind, well, what we take from an already amazing stock machine and build it into the builds that you're seeing here.
Okay, let's get into performance stuff.
Yeah. Bikeman Performance, Jared Sessions and I, we've been longtime friends forever and ever, and I truly do love and trust all the things that Jared has done. This particular snowmobile, it's a 155 Boost. We've done a lot of things to this. So this has Bikeman primary and secondary clutching. It's got the new intake valve behind the airbox there. It's also got a titanium muffler. This particular sled also has their Big Mo turbo, plus their 20 horse quick spool tune. Everything about it, guys. I run 50-50, so 50-91 to 50-100 low lead, just for safekeeping, especially with anything low elevation. But for the most part, it's one of the most drivable, most fast, most low flying plane snowmobiles. I built something very similar last year, and it was so good. As you go into the following season, you're like, man, how can I top that? And so little things that we've done with the tune tune, and then obviously with that new intake valve off the back, just improving more and more of that as we learn about these snowmobiles and how to build power. And then another part of that with the new skins, you guys can always tell this is the helium hood. The helium hood's carrying my brand for however long that we've been doing this is pretty amazing. Absolutely love skins and that family and all the work that we have done to continue to be innovators in the snowmobile world. But they created this, they call this hood the Guzzler. This has a direct, it's direct intake to the top of the turbo. And so combining this new way of getting air into the top of the turbo, and you combine that with the Big Mo, the snowmobile sounds like a freaking helicopter. It is absolutely amazing. It makes me smile every time I build Boost. And the whole combination of everything that Polaris has done from an OEM, and then these few little add-ons, the clutching to get it dialed, and the turbo between that, the tune and everything, it is just, this thing is an absolute freaking beast on the snow, and truly, truly do love the way it's all turned out.
Well, now you got to spin it around sideways and show us the turbo.
Absolutely. So we'll look at that. On this side, we can see a few things. You guys will like this. And you know me, I keep my sleds fairly clean.
Yeah. That clutch cover.
So you got the Bikeman Cyclone clutch cover. A lot of things internally to here. We do have the P22 fix kit on some of this stuff, which is really helpful. Got to give big props to Fire and Ice for some of the stuff they've done. The Speedworks, this is the 1.5 quart, so the 1.5, getting rid of some weight there and then clearing up some space. Stay tuned for what I'm going to create for another tool bag of sorts. And the reason that this whole thing got brought up is, with the Guzzler hood, we lose that behind the gauge storage. I still keep that storage there that's really useful, but being able to create another storage space here, and Speedworks has done a great job with some of that stuff, but we're looking to create some sort of a tool kit for that, which I think will be awesome.
Goggle holder.
So yeah, something. Yeah, we'll have something in there. So yeah, performance on that side, and then on this side, as we roll this guy around, you tell me when to stop, Ryan. Is that okay?
That's good.
Okay. So over here, I actually really like doing this. It reminds me of if you were like at an old car show or something and people are seeing the outside and they're like, wow, that thing's pretty amazing. And then somebody's like, hey, pop the hood. That's kind of fun. So you got to have all of these things cleaned up and ready to go so that when Snow West Magazine calls and says, hey, let's come over and let's do some walk around videos. I do ride these sleds, guys, but I am pretty OCD and I like keeping things pretty dialed, pretty clean. The way Jared built the Big Mo turbo and then had his own pipe from the top of the turbo and how it incorporated in with what Skins was doing, it all just worked out. Those two companies totally different, they didn't really work together, but the fact that that all connected the way it did, it just made for one absolutely freaking beautiful setup. So really, really excited about that. We've got the performance Y pipe down in there from Bikeman, all kinds of bling. And so this is, before we get going any further, this is still just based on an 850. So this isn't a 9 boost. Bikeman and I, Jared and I, have done a 900 big bore boost before. Absolutely awesome snowmobile, but with the tune and with the parts that we have put into this, this sled will hang with anything that's out there.
So with the Big Mo turbo, is that more for top end? Does it transition?
Man, if you'd think that it was more for top end, which every time bigger turbo comes up, it always seems like that. The way this thing runs on the bottom is absolutely incredible. So I'd say that it's got legs no matter where you're at in the throttle. It is just absolutely awesome. Not to mention the sound is unlike anything that anybody's ever heard. You could tell that I was riding a Big Mo turbo from the next bowl over. It is pretty cool.
Okay, now you got to start it.
So, you ready?
Yeah, fire it up real quick. No better time than now.
No better time than now, yeah. So obviously when you're in here, we don't get to build Boost. When you hear the whistle of this, and maybe there's a way we'll be able to put a sound clip in there when this thing is on full boost, guys, the whistle that you hear. And a lot of that is, we pull all the insulation from the side panels. You've got this direct, it sounds fairly open mod. And when you're riding it, you can't help but feel like you're in a race course headed uphill and the crowd's cheering and you're going for some first place prize somewhere, because it puts you in that frame of mind. And so when you're going uphill, you're smiling inside your helmet, you can't help but be just wide open boost, and the sled just delivers. It is just awesome.
It's like your diesel days coming back.
It's a little bit like the diesel days. That's right. That's right. Well, while we've got it on this side, it doesn't really matter. We can just keep going. We've talked about the internals to that. We've got the front end kind of covered. Moving up here, keep the stock handlebars. Everything's the black low bar. What is unique about this, and it's kind of hard to tell, but I've got, and you could kind of peek underneath there. So Zollinger, ZRP, they make a billet steering post. It's light, it's strong, and I'm a small guy, especially with this sled on casters. It looks like this sled is huge, but I'm a pretty small guy. But when I stand up on the snowmobile, I'm okay with it being stock, but I do like and really do enjoy, they make a 1-inch and a 2-inch dropper post. This specific one is called the 1-inch drop post, and I'm really happy with it. I liked it because with the 2-inch, I had to do some modification with my new handlebar pack. The 1-inch post just brings that center of gravity, brings the post back down to the snowmobile. When you're climbing a hill, the whole idea, and you guys have seen me coach this for a lot of years, is trying to keep your body forward. Your feet are back, but your body are forward. When you get really up something steep, it becomes harder and harder with that taller handlebar to get your chest up and over the bars. So having that 1-inch dropper post, or even that 2-inch dropper post, an even bigger advantage to the shorter rider to be able to keep that upper part of my body up and over, as far over the front of the sled, to try to keep that thing down when you're going up something steep. So huge props to ZRP for that. Know, guys, that I will be putting that 1-inch drop post on all of my builds. We've just got this one for now. So, but while we're here, you guys can see something I am so proud of. My combination with Pro Armor and Next Level. This partnership has just been going on for a few years here, and to finally have a product that is showcased through Polaris at SnowCheck. You guys can put these onto your build orders. This has the Fidlock system. It's very similar to like magnets on our helmets, something like that. But this is such a cool way that this just attaches to the crossbar. Obviously you attach this crossbar piece onto there, and then these handlebar packs just simply drop onto there, and you hear the click, and it's the same with the front. So just like the Barant approved stuff you see from Polaris PG&A, this is the Pro Armor Next Level version of that. So super slick, and you guys got to know how rewarding this is for me, that I've got a product that I put a lot of time into, and to just have Pro Armor with me on this journey has just been absolutely awesome. So really loving that product, and we can combine that as we move back. So you guys notice that I put my gear on the snowmobiles. Everybody's always wondering how I come up with this stuff. It's a big help with Climb that they come up with these. This is the new Montana Tan Ripsaw. I knew and have always been kind of into this sort of Army edition stuff. I built sleds for the last couple of years here, and I'm pretty thrilled with the way these things come out. But this was kind of maybe the starter kit for why I did what I did with colorways with the Arctic FX wrap, which you got to hand it to Arctic FX, man. Jordan and his team, for how many years I've been doing this with so many of the riders in the, that are out in the industry. He's just always coming up with really cool designs, cool colors, and then just really good quality wraps. So the wrap in itself has been a lot of fun. Whether or not I've named this thing yet, I kind of did that in a post, and haven't heard one that's really caught my eye. My last year's boost was called Army Brat, and I thought that one was kind of fun, and we'll see how this one goes. I've got the Seatco seat covers. You can see that on all my builds. I love the material. It really does help, and I did get their new traction, so they're putting tunnel grips on sleds, and I've just got yet to put that on there. I did ride a sled just this last week with the tunnel grips, and I cannot believe how nice that is to have that grip along the tunnel side. So I'm anxious to get that on. In fact, you and I, Ryan, maybe we'll have time at the end of this. We'll throw that stuff on here.
All right.
All right, ready? So moving back here, this is what we call the medium storage box, and it's hard not to call them bags. We've had storage bags for many years. I wanted to kind of break the mold, do something uniquely different, and Pro Armor and we came up with this premium storage option, and we're calling this the medium storage box. You can see that it's got these nice little, the way this collapses, the way it holds, it's just the right amount of tension. It hasn't kicked off in a rollover. My feet don't break a buckle. There is no zippers to fall apart and freeze and break. And then the way that thing comes off of there, it's all just injection molded. It's very durable. It's super strong. I would think most people as they're looking at this, I mean, think the term food saver, something like Rubbermaid, where you've got this nice watertight seal. You've got your dividers inside. Every one of these can come out and they're adjustable, so you can kind of mix and match, or you can take them out completely. But this is just an absolutely awesome way to hold. It's like a Milwaukee box. And guys that are sort of retrofitting some of that stuff onto their snowmobiles, I think it's awesome. But the idea that you can just take this stuff off. I share the Polaris Lock and Ride, which, not being connected to Polaris, you know, that was going against a lot of things, and we were having to come up with our own way of mounting these things to the snowmobile. Now I don't have to do that. And because this one is set up the way it is, I can share with you guys this. This was something that, as Pro Armor and I were working on things, I knew that this was a relatively large box. It's not every day, especially if I'm not guiding or something like that, it's not every day that I need this much storage. And so you can tell with these other boxes, keep this down, just how this works. So here is what you call the small storage box. This can just go right onto the snowmobile, and really all you've needed was just these pegs from Polaris, and that's not a very expensive part. It's a very easy one to keep together. So that can come on. You can take this guy off, and then without having to have any tools, you can just go back and forth. And then the next part of that we don't love, we're not really showcasing this, but you can tell the way it was built, and you guys can see the design of this. If you had a 165, or you just had the reason that you needed a bunch more storage, know that this can clip together, and you can kind of look at the way we profiled all of this. I mean, that's a ton of storage for somebody. So if you were going on an overnight trip, you were packing more gear for a friend, maybe it was an emergency and you needed to bring, you know, more tools, more supplies, something like that, you'd have the ability to get wherever you're going. I mean, I say this all the time, you'd have your overnight stuff inside of here, you get to wherever you're staying, you pop this one back, you go put this one inside your cabin, and then this is your ready to ride kit. And I think that that's a pretty cool, pretty unique way to have all of the stuff that you need to take with us. Because as backcountry riders, whether you're a guide or just out there, you know, recreationally, I think that having the right stuff, I mean, it's what makes a lot of it so fun, is you go out there and you are completely prepared. And that's not just mentally, physically, you have all the right stuff with you that can make that a really fun and a safe experience. All right, so locked and loaded there. Lastly on this sled, guys, got to talk about the Pro Armor Next Level rear bumpers. I think it's an awesome way that, you know, it really caps off the rear of the sled. For how this thing looks, there's actually a lot of purpose behind it in terms of this roll up onto this. You know, for the guys that are doing, and myself including, we're doing a lot of stuff past that 12 o'clock where we're flipping sleds over. There's all kinds of different things that these sleds are allowing us to do nowadays. So having some strength back here on the rear part of the sled has been really important to us. And so the rear bumper has just been absolutely awesome. Combine that with the protection that we get from the front bumper, and it's awesome. And this is what else is really cool from Pro Armor, again, having that direct connection through Polaris, is that any colorway that Polaris has, any one of them, these guys have the actual paint code for those bumpers. So we truly get paint to match bumpers. This one is pretty unique to what it is, just sort of this desert tan look. Obviously complements the rest of the snowmobile and purposely goes against all of these, where it's 50 shades of a different brown or tan. You can totally tell the difference between powder coating and anodizing. But again, it all kind of works and goes together, and just absolutely love the way the sled turned out. All right, so moving on to what is still a Khaos. This is a 155 9R, just an aspirated snowmobile. Has become easily one of my favorites. The 9R 55, if somebody were asking me like what sled to buy or own, to me, you guys, this becomes such a Swiss Army knife of a snowmobile. This thing and its capability right out of the box is truly one of the most amazing snowmobiles of its time. It really does fit the bill for so many people. Even if you're brand new to snowmobiling, or you've been snowmobiling like I have for a big chunk of my life, a 9R 155 with really nothing done to it is already an amazing machine. But you guys know me, I never leave anything alone. So this is what we end up with. So we'll start here with the suit. Guys, guys, this is, again, how I come up with the colorways. This one matched up nearly perfect, which I thought was awesome. So this is another Climb Ripsaw, one of my favorite pieces of gear, and was like, heck, let's tie in some of the pops of color that they do so that we're visible on the snow. And obviously I made something that is very visible, kind of opposite of some of the earth tone stuff that I've done before. And then again, this is the one that I don't put a ton of time and energy into, but then as we wrap it and I put this gear on, it becomes this thing that it made it look like I planned this all along. It's not really the way it went, but I love how it all came together. So that's kind of the reasoning for the bright colors there. Okay, so 9R guys, and you can tell as we're looking at all of these sleds, they share so much of the same DNA between the front and rear bumpers. The bags are obviously the same. The wrap is still the Adams inversion from Arctic FX, but because it's a 9R and it's not a Boost, there's a few other little internals to it that are different. Obviously, same front end. We've got the Elevate spindles, the Striker lowers, the Chris Brandt Fox QSE suspension. I did do the lower bolt hole drop from right here. We've got the Thomas skid. So we've got that TRF skid, the Glide on a 55 again, guys, sharing that Ice Age rail. All of these profiles and the way I've got this one set up, basically kind of still in that chaos mode, again, with that adjustability with the quick link, being able to just turn this thing into nearly whatever sled I want it to be. I can turn this into 146-ish, or I can turn this into 165-ish, just depending on where I want to adjust that quick link. So again, can't say enough about the Glide skid. Such an amazing piece of, well, performance part on the snowmobile. And so we've got the 325 track. We've got the we've got the Ice Age Hellfire wheels. We've got just the blacked version. This is me kind of running out of time. I think that everybody seeing this would have liked to see this in this highlighter neon color in the back. Doesn't mean I won't change it, but we've got the Next Level Pro Armor bumpers there. We've got the small version of the storage box here, as I showed you guys how modular that is. In fact, on this sled being a 55 tunnel, there are times when I want to run that larger storage. And so just having the pegs there, again, allows me to just pop that off, quick release with that lock and ride and back on there. Just a different version, as you guys are seeing from all three of the sleds. I took gray, black, and white, and through the Seatco website, was able to design three slightly different seat wraps and just kind of keep the same colorways alive. Those guys over at Seatco have just been knocking it out of the park. Again, I'm going to put those tunnel grips onto this sled as well. Just haven't gotten to it yet, but the Seatco seat cover, definitely a confidence builder. I love the way they look, the traction that you gain from that, and then combine that with the tunnel grips. It allows a wily guy like me to stay connected to the sled the best way I can. Fire and Ice, got to bring that back in with their clutching stuff, and then also with their intake vents here. When we just have the helium hood without the guzzler option, this is a great way that we can just continue to get that cold air in and try to keep the sled from bogging. These have always been awesome. I've ran these for the last couple years and they've just been great. We've got the Skins helium hood. I love the way these things look. I keep that storage box here. I use a water bladder for my water. I'll throw in a bunch of electrolytes into there, keep my water there, a couple pairs of warm gloves here. We've got the Next Level Pro Armor bumper up front. And then inside the snowmobile, this one has Bikeman primary and secondary clutching. So you've got the Cyclone cover there. What's unique about the Cyclone cover, for those that haven't spent much time with those, that this is actually a design that as this is going, this is actually a fan. So this is actually blowing air back towards your belt and back into this area with the attempt of keeping that clutch area as cool as we can and trying to keep that wear and tear off the belt, which is really cool. And this is something new since I ran that Speedworks small oil tank on this one. These are actually 1 quart oil tanks that you jump onto the Bikeman website. You got to kind of search for them because they're essentially built, for racing. But how cool is this? I've got 1 quart of oil. 1 quart of oil is basically equivalent to 1 tank of gas. And so how many times we're out riding, oh man, there's been a lot of great rides this year where I've come home and I've been on low fuel. Now it's something that, from before, we were carrying quite a bit more oil than we really needed. So now it's just when I go to fill up my fuel, I'm going to fill up my oil and I'm shedding a bunch of weight. Not to mention, I think that looks super trick. And again, some sort of toolkit will go there. So if you're watching and you have an idea for some sort of toolkit that can go there, this is where I want it. I don't want my 13 pounds of tools to be back here, here, or up here. This would be a great spot for it. So let's figure that all out together. And you'll probably want another sound test with this.
Yeah, sure, why not?
But I'm a big fan of titanium. I think everybody else is as well. So that's their new tie muffler. It is just, besides how it looks, how clean it is, I love the way that connects. Typically, I have a Bikeman pipe, which they make for the 850 and the 9R, that looks really, really good, just not in the sled today. But the titanium exhaust, they sound good, they're lightweight. Everything about that is a really, really cool performance part. And we may as well turn this thing on and let everybody hear it. It just makes me smile every time. I love this stuff. You guys, you will have to know that when you fire up a snowmobile like this and you back it off a sled deck, you back it out of the trailer. I've always said this from my very first snowmobiles. When it sounds like this, people are gonna think that you know what you're doing. So you better figure it out. So anyway, when they sound modified, you better know what you're doing. So don't go send it into a snowbank right there in the parking lot, because they're gonna be like, oh wow, what's that? So anyway, we really, really like the fit and finish, all things of what Bikeman and Jared have been able to do for me. The clutching on this 9R, again, guys, will go back and forth between what the OEM provides and between the Boost and any of their aspirated sleds. There's never been a better time to go buy a bone stock machine. I can't even believe or tell you enough about being able to just go into a dealer, buy a snowmobile, fuel and oil, go pull the rope, and have that snowmobile work so amazingly well. I might be blessed with where I live, just because we live at such a perfect elevation there near Alpine, Wyoming. But a Boost, guys, you can pull that thing out of the box, fuel and oil, and go ride it with absolutely nothing done to it. 8650 RPM and just absolutely ripping. Same thing with the 9Rs, same thing with the 850. So Polaris, as an OEM, as a company, kudos to you guys for building such amazing snowmobiles that for the most part, people can go out and just buy, fuel and oil, and just go ride them. I think that's awesome. But moving on, because you guys know I can't leave a dang thing alone. My trucks, anything, all my stuff. So anyway, we're moving back. I think we've covered most of this, Ryan. I think we got it all. You guys see the Pro Armor storage. Again, I just can't say enough about how cool this stuff is, how much storage. You can tell I've got my GoPro, I've got my sat phone in there. I carry some extra tools, that sort of thing. When I want to truly go from one sled to the next, simple quick release, and you see how that goes, that just sits up onto those two spots and it's on. So that's a pretty amazing setup. Really excited about that. So that's the 155 9R. All right, so last one, guys, and for a snowmobile that I threw a leg over a couple of years ago, finally had one of my own in the last couple of seasons. It was so crazy that I never would have thought, and there was probably gonna be a bunch of people that would comment on, there was a time there where I think no matter what, I was always gonna be a 165 guy. Like it was just, I wanted that for the footprint, the stability, it'd go well through the deep snow and all those things, guys. And then this thing came along and I actually got to spend some serious time with it. And so here we are, third season in a row of building a 146 and just literally absolutely loving every second of the time that I pull the rope and squeeze the throttle and go have fun with this thing. On a snow year like that we're having right now, it's nearly the perfect snowmobile to have out. It's not necessarily the sled that in the deepest of conditions that I would take. It's why I've built the other snowmobiles. But when it's okay conditions, or when it goes springtime and maybe avalanche danger is pretty high and you want to be on some low elevation stuff and still go have a blast, could not think of a better sled. And it's literally a weapon. Like what it does, even if you have to track rob in a few areas, like what it does even in the deeper snow, it's just amazing. So the 46 to me, it's just been so much dang fun. Again, just thinking about how I come up with all this stuff. This is like the total Eddie Bauer package, but I saw this color this is the Ripsaw Vapor from Climb. I knew I was gonna love it. I definitely dig these earthy tones, and you can kind of tell this is where I get my inspiration for what the wraps look like. So what's nice about this one is I can go this, or I could go Montana Tan, and no matter what, it looks like I'm meant to. All right, so a lot of the same stuff, guys. Again, we'll start at the front. We got the Skins Pro Armor front bumpers. We combine that with the rear bumpers. Tried to put, add some custom colorways. This colorway of the 146 from Polaris in 2026 was already that cool green color with the white. And even though you can't really tell that with the wrap and everything I've done to it, but that's kind of the inspiration as it started. I loved that sort of forest green color and just went with that. And so that was kind of how the whole colorway theme and everything started with the sled. Again, striker lowers, Ice Age Elevate spindles. We did drop the bolt even on a 146. We got the seat coat cover. You got the Pro Armor bags. You got the hard small box storage back here. Helium hood, came that storage there. We've got the fire and ice here. This still has the very same clutching setup as we did on the 9R. I've got the small oil tank there from Bikeman, the Cyclone Clover, plus all their sniper weights, their clutching, all of that's working out really, really well. Some secondary stuff, slightly different helix. All the things that we do that Jared does, I shouldn't say Jared and I, Jared does for these snowmobiles to make them just work and perform even better than they do from a stock setup. I know it's a lot of the same stuff, guys. Difference being obviously was just the track lengths and then even the paddles themselves. Again, we've had the 165, that's the Barant edition, the Powerlifter 310. The 155 is the Polaris Series 9 325. And then this being the 2.6, which you guys can remember, we all do, that when the 2.6 track was out and was brand new, I mean, it was truly one of the best tracks that we could ever hope for. And we didn't know what we didn't know. We didn't know about the 275. We didn't know about the 325, obviously the Powerlifter just getting released. And then how many of you guys out there have switched over to a cat track or a skidoo track or something? There's a lot of different, I think that tracks are like snow tires. Everybody's got one, had a good experience with them, and that's why they think they're the best. This has been awesome for me to have such a unique difference in snow from the season, and then having 3 different sleds, 3 different track lengths, 9Rs versus the Boost, and then having all of these different tracks themselves has been really cool just to figure out what's the best. And it's all been working out really well. And I think in deep snow conditions between the Powerlifter and the 325, those 2 tracks, they're designed for that type of snow. I think they work really well. When the snow goes to spring-like, you've got some rigid snow, and then it's kind of a mix of some of that. This 2.6 has actually been pretty freaking awesome. So moving back onto that, we've got the glide skin again. You guys, on a 146, if you were to talk to Justin Thomas's backcountry sled, in fact, his favorite one is a 146. And he has that with his skid, and he actually has that in a boost. So he's taken a 155 boost and made it into a 146 boost using his skid and everything else. And it's just been absolutely awesome. Watching him ride that skid and ride that sled and how capable it is has just truly been awesome. So I've built a couple of 146s in the past, but none with the glide skid. And I have to tell you guys, it made this sled that much more fun, but also that much more capable. So again, with that quick link, being able to adjust this sled can ride like a 155, whereas the 155 can ride like a 165. And then the 165 that I have can ride like a 155 and even further than a 65. When it is deep snow and all I want to do is go up, these skids have the ability and the adjustment to make it happen. And I think that's pretty cool. Again, guys, just a 9R power plant, so something very similar to what the 55 is, but keep that tie theme going. And it's pretty damn nice to have the weight savings, the noise, all of those things of these, all of the Bikeman performance stuff that we've got in here. And the only difference here is QD1 versus QD2. It's awesome how fast this snowmobile is. You guys remember that the 9R was kind of created as like somewhat of a crossover. It's really, really cool to see Caleb and so many guys that are out there that are using a 146 and where we're taking them in the backcountry. If you think about what its true intention was somewhat of a crossover machine. So with a few little tips and tricks and things that we add to them, they make them very capable mountain machines and truly one of my favorites. Yep. So Ryan, as much as I, thought that I had these things kind of ready for their glamour shots, you can tell that this was, I rode this the last time and I haven't got all the cleaning done, but I do ride these guys. So the fact that they're semi-clean, it's just what it is. So I try to keep them as dialed as I can, but we wanted to make a quick point that all of my sleds, guys, with that Elevate spindle, that I do go ahead and run my spindle right in the center, keeping that sort of 36-inch ski stance center to center. I like the stability. I like to go fast. I like the machine to be right there. And what maybe makes that a bit more maybe it's better to say it like it's just less easy to initiate or put onto its side. I give up a little bit of that by putting that into the center. I certainly wouldn't run it in the wide. And I also think if I'm going to run the stock ski rubber that it centered underneath the spindle, whether it's a stock A-arm or an aftermarket, it tends to last a little bit longer and better. So that's why I run those there. And I've got that all three the same. I think really the playbook that I've been on with all of these things, guys, is that I try to design each one of these sleds so that the cockpit, the ergonomics, the way the sled feels as I ride it, between the throttle location, the brake, kind of where everything is as I stand on the machine, it's all very similar. That way, as I jump on one power plant to the next, no different from how the Rimshaw guys go from their backcountry sleds to their stock machines to their open mods. Obviously, there's some tiny changes in there with some of these guys in their open mod sleds. Those are some pretty massive changes, but they try to keep the ergonomics of the sled very similar, and that just instills confidence. You kind of know that you're jumping on a sled that you're used to every time you get out and ride.